There
you go. Oh yes, Kate looks lovely in the forest.
Controls at the bottom.
Yeah.
Ah, I see we have James Rothman from Pennsylvania.
Wow.
See you, James.
Gosh.
Nice.
Yeah, I know she's there, but she's no picture.
No, she's just connecting.
Oh.
There was just a message that said she's connecting with
Okay.
audio.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now. People are coming in regularly here, so just let's get as many people in.
But most of our readers aren't here yet, so we have to.
Okay, we'll continue doing this then. That's great.
We have 6 minutes to go.
That's good. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, you know what? What I thought might be a nice idea if we have extra time like this to go across the screen and everybody say where they're from. My name and I'm from so and so. Okay, I'm Candace James. I'm from New Westminster. Next.
I'm Carol Johnson and I'm from Langley.
We're Kieran and
Susanna.
Egan from Vancouver.
Head left to right.
Oh, I'm Kate and I'm from Toronto.
And Robert?
I'm Marvyne. I'm also from Toronto.
Also from Toronto, yes.
I'm James Rothline and I'm from Middletown, Pennsylvania.
I can go. I'm Jillian and I'm in Surrey.
Hi, hi.
Hi.
I'm Adrian. I'm in Vancouver.
I'm Dominic. I'm Dominic and I'm from Vancouver.
I'm Manuela and I'm in New Westminster.
Ah.
I'm Margaret and I'm from Vancouver.
Uh-huh.
Michael and Janice from Dundas, Ontario.
Wow.
We're Bob and Pam from Oxford in England.
There's Clara. Hi, Clara.
Hi, everybody. Hugh and Angie from Wexford in Ireland.
Wow, well done. Yeah. Gosh.
Hi, Susanna. Hello, Kieran.
Hi, Carol.
Hi, Tom.
Hey. Good afternoon.
I'm going to just show Kieran's book while everybody's arriving in droves.
Yes.
His a wonderful book, which I expect to sell millions of copies. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Well, I think so, Kieran. And everybody here should know that it's now available worldwide through iPage at most major retail stores and all libraries. So if you want the book, go into your store, ask for it. If they haven't already got it stocked, they can order it in for you.
So it's really my pleasure to introduce Kieran Egan. This is the second time I've hosted, I think, for Kieran, and I remember the first time very well. So you'll all be really well entertained today. Kieran lives in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. His chapbook, Among the Branches, was published by Alfred Gustav Press in June 2019. He was shortlisted for the Times Literary Supplement, I'm sorry, I'm not going to pronounce that correctly, Mick Imla Prize in 2017, and the Acumen International Poetry Competition 2020. And his poems have appeared in many Canadian and international magazines. His books have been published by a variety of presses. Today, Kieran will be reading from his book, 7 Oaks Ago, his second poetry book from Silver Bow Publishing. And as Candace said, Kieran's books are available through most retailers, and you can just go in and ask for them. If they don't have them, they can order it for you from iPage. So it's going to be very easy for you to get yourselves a copy of the book. I'm just going to now let a couple more people into the room. And now Candace is going to say a few words. I'll turn it over to Candace.
Yes, I'll try and say as few as possible because I can ramble on. But I'm just really happy to have published Kieran's first book that we published, Amplified Silence, and now 7 Oaks Ago. They're really great books, and he has a unique way of writing where he almost makes emotions become a visual thing and makes visuals become an emotional thing. Quite amazing. So I've decided each time I do one of these, I'm going to read my favorite poem from the book, which really gets me knowing the book well because I go over it a bunch more times. This one that I chose, I really like because it's different, and he really knocks it out of the ballpark on this one. It's called Too Late, with a question mark. Too late? Mrs. Reardon walks down the pavement, which is more broken now than when she pushed 4 different children in their prams, 2 of whom will be at the funeral today of the man she married, because the man she loved married her best friend. Her friend died last year, and the man she loved will also be at the funeral of the man she married. Mrs. Reardon and the man she still loved passed on this street with their children in prams then. He with a son and football, and she with ballet shoes and a daughter, and with further sons and daughters, stopping, chatting with energetic gaiety. And the many times they met in supermarket or bookstore, discussing anything intently together for far too long. Would he, after the funeral, after due time, or will they reserve what they had cultivated like a shell? Oh, and his once hair, her once taut skin. Yes, we can all remember that stuff, can't we? And now, over to you, Kieran, take it away.
Thank you. And thank you for the lovely reading. Give us an example. And thank you for the opportunity. And to Carol, last time we did this, nearly everybody afterwards said what they liked most was hearing other people and the variety of voices reading the poems. So this time, that's what's going to happen for all of them. So I'm going to be a spectator and enjoy it, I trust. Susanna will introduce us, and then we'll start.
We're Kieran and Susanna, welcoming so much family, so many friends. It's absolutely wonderful to see you here. Thank you. I want to thank Carol for hosting us today, and want to thank Candace, who has published these 2 books of Kieran's with such care, with such attention. 2 beautiful books, 2 beautiful covers. I know she has paid careful attention to every stage of each book, critiquing the poems, considering the poems, relating the poems to each other. She's done an amazing work of pulling them together and making them as beautiful as they are. And we both thank Candace very much indeed. So we also thank our readers. We've got a wonderful raft of readers. So let's get going.
Okay, if you're on the raft, maybe we can start with Adrienne, who will read Moving Away, which, if you have the book, is on page 67.
Happy equinox, everyone. And it is such a privilege to be able to take part in this. Congratulations, Kieran. I have such admiration and love for you and your work. Moving Away, after C.P. Gavafi. You are leaving our city and preparing to live in another. You will miss the mountains, but your new place also has a fine river passing through it, reflecting glass and steel towers in which familiar business is done, chats with new friends in coffee bars, and lunch, after lunch strolls by the water. Each day, you will miss us a little less. We will remark how the loss of you diminishes our city, and you will no doubt see how your new life enhances your new place. All set fair, you go with courage and hope, and you will walk smiling through your welcoming city streets, but you cannot see from there the wreckage you leave in my heart.
Thank you, Adrian. Next is Pamela Thomas, who will read Latin class, which is on page 54.
I was saying I've been looking forward to reading this poem because to me it's always been a very frolicsome one, and I do enjoy it very much. Father Dunstan entered the classroom like a bird. Think heron or crane, long creaking legs hidden under his Franciscan habit. He slowly placed the Latin textbook like a box of pearls, centered precisely on the table. Now, my angelic charges, I have a secret to impart to you. He raised a hand as though in warning and rushed over to the windows, peering out, pushing one open, leaning this way and that. This was routine for our Latin class. Satisfied, he came back to the table. If anyone is wearing a wire, now's the time to squeal, spill the beans. If I find out later, what was that? Slowly on tiptoe towards the door, he paused, holding the handle, ear against the jamb, then swung the door dramatically wide, jumped out into the corridor, looking right and left. No one snooping today. Okay, I don't want it to get beyond our walls of this room, the walls of this room, or the ceiling and floor, naturally. Now, internally, swear you will tell no one what I am about to tell you. He gave us a few moments, then stage whispered in an awed voice, the secret is about some irregular uses of the pluperfect tense. At the end of the class, he swept up his book, strode to the door, paused again. Whatever you do in life, boys, never underestimate the pluperfect. I had maintained and maintain my sworn vow, so can't, of course, tell you what we learned that day.
Thank you, Pam. Beautiful. That's lovely. And next we have Catherine Egan, who will read Symbiosis on page 91 in memory of her rats.
Yes, I noticed a friend on here who doesn't like rats. So if anyone has a rat phobia, plug your ears while I read. Okay, this is Symbiosis. I don't know what it's like for rats on nights like this. Thunder crackling from the snarling tops of trees, and November's freezing rain slashing without mercy. Alertly picking its way across the gravel, rat slinks behind the shrubs, then scampers towards the shed. Pausing to piss, it sniffs to sense that all is well, before slithering in and down into the fug of perhaps contented fellowship, snuggling in. Maybe tumbling amongst tough competitors or reluctant mates, a mess of charged hostility, which hisses sharp across their sleek and smelly backs. Much as it might feel for us, coming from rain to choir practice, boardroom, or yoga group. We creatures have been long entwined, rat and human, sharing our homes and food, sharing our fleas and flies and filth. A traveler from some distant galaxy looking at life on Earth would hardly distinguish between us. Eyes and heads, backbone, hair, tongue, teeth, that familiar spectrum of emotions. Genetically, we're almost identical. Like cruel siblings, we have long engaged in battle to slaughter one another to extinction. We humans have been the more deliberate killers, recruiting cats and dogs as allies and lethal poisons. Yet your destruction has often been the deadlier, whole villages extinguished, 1/3 of Europe. But you found with us gone, life was harder. And if we are successful in your extermination, we too may be bewildered at the cost we have to pay. There is no appetite among humans for reconciliation, so we are in this battle till the end, I fear. Perhaps I should know better what it's like for rats on nights like this.
Thank you, Catherine. Lovely. And next we have Una Berry, who will read The Cabin in Spring on page 76.
Thank you, Kieran. It's lovely to be here. Hi, Susanna.
Hello, Una.
You said you'd visit in the spring, so I have prepared since January. I coaxed the trees to bud, then leaf, the cherries and the apples. I sang into bunching blossom. The birds I trained to fly in circles, and as they loop around your head, to call your name. Thinking you might come across the lake, I painted the boat with blue and rigged a yellow sail. I fed the fish while playing my guitar so they would rise in welcome when I took you on the water. Then the flowers returned and the sun invited me to clean the windows, to add crisp curtains, new duvet, to polish boards, gleam the stove, while ear-like speakers overflowed the cabin, rehearsing for your arrival. Pastoral symphony and spring sonata. No problem, my misunderstanding. With lake and birds, fish, trees and rain, you would ask for more. I'm patient in the disciplines of love. I'll eat the flowers.
Thank you, Una. These are all better read than the poems I wrote. Next, we have Chris Levinson, who will read 7 Oaks Ago on page 83.
83. Why would the branches whisper to me of Caesar? These coastal woods, not those through which he rode, but locals say in the shelter of this hill, trees from acorns from trees from acorns from trees can span 1,000 years. So maybe 7 oaks ago, he sat under wind-articulating branches like these that whisper to me here today. Seated in a tent with his general, Quintus, some wine, some strategy, 2 impulsive men, both with disaster in their eyes, but now just laughing at the risks of this rash expedition. Later, both wrote to Cicero, Quintus's brother, letters that marched along the Roman roads, writing Britain into Europe for the first time. With legions, horses, baggage, he's long gone over sea and mountains and the Rubicon. The kings he left behind were then in fee to Rome. As I listen to the branches, I hold in my pocket a silver denarius from a field in Kent, which someone lost here 7 oaks ago.
Thank you, Chris. Chris's next, maybe, book of poems will be also published by Candace, his 15th or 16th collection. So next is Tom Gorman, who will read Points of the Compass, which is on page 49.
Well, thanks, Kieran, and congratulations. I'm going to do my mellifluous self best.
Close for no cigar.
Yeah. Measles, I think it was, ensured I missed Sister Veronica's classes on Points of the Compass. I later grasped the idea from her proud mnemonic as she pointed to the electric light switch and said to the dimmer of the Dutton twins, E is for electricity and east. East is over there. More than 70 years later, I still need a moment to sort east from west, orienting myself by that now demolished classroom. As Sister Veronica pointed to the electric east, I noticed mostly the clear pink skin of her film star features gleaming softly with grace under the white strip of her wimple. A brief frown, moment of impatience, relaxed into her all sweet accord smile, glittering eyes, divinely perfect teeth. My sense of east and west tangled in the confusions of my first and purest love, setting all my compasses awry.
Thank you, Tom. That's great. And next we have Michael Egan, Kite and Boy, on page 75.
The kite, tail twisting in the wind, string bellying out, looks down on the sea's edge far below at the boy holding it. The kite tugs furiously, straining, singing to the wind for help till it lifts the boy. Knit together, they fly over the trees beside the shore, over the town, towards the hills. They swing around each other as they rise. Which is the planet, which the moon? As the boy lets the string run out, he feels the tethered kite, fantasy of freedom. Then slowly, turn by turn, he reels it in. Fighting against the tightening constraint, it bucks among the squalls above the trees, swinging in wild arcs, coming ever closer. Boy and kite whistle in the wind.
Nice.
Thank you, Michael. And next, we have Anne Pearson reading Uncertain Signs on page 89.
Hello, Kieran and Susanna.
Oh, hello. Hello, Alan.
And to Alan.
Uncertain signs. I wake from reading a signpost at the crossroads, crowded round this time of year with birdsong and Queen Anne's lace, high as the hedgerow. I had walked a winding path from the village, through a bluebell wood, and from a humped bridge, watched the slow weeds sway with the water. The place is nowhere, yet built from where I've been or seen, paths and streams I've known. And one May day, those shining mounds of Queen Anne's lace in a country lane. And I am now so far and long away, I can only conclude the maker of dreams is out to break my heart.
Thank you, Anne. And next, we have Janice Egan reading The Fall on page 50.
Hi, Kieran. Hi, Susanna.
Hello.
And hi, Mom and Dad in Ireland. And hello,
All right.
everybody else. All my lovely family and friends. Thank you. All right, I am reading The Fall. I felt corruption overwhelm my pious Catholic childhood. Remember the name Wilkinson, Terry the son, Bernard the dad. They were agents of the devil. Terry's father famed among us as a municipal bus conductor. The day of my sad fall from grace, we kids clambered to the top deck of his bus, our swim trunks wrapped in towels. Mr. Wilkinson came up the stairs, strode up the aisle, taking money, giving tickets, and ostentatiously nodding while pointing at, as though checking off, those who'd already paid. The bus fare was tuppence. I held out both my coppers. Instead, he pointed and nodded at each of us kids, falsely counting us among the ticketed elect. Then Terry whispered to us all, "If an inspector comes to check, we're to say we just got on at the last stop." He grinned with sheerest joy and pride at his family's breathtaking deceit. True, the Wilkinsons were Protestants, as were most of the kids on the bus. Was it this that caused the gross dishonesty? Even then, I doubted it was so simple. And all the kids exulted as we got off, tuppences unspent, now spendable on sweets. Their delight became mine also, and I was led to see, oh Lord, how sweet it was. So I became complicit in how this world works, intimate with dazzling knowledge.
Thank you, Janice. Another reading that improves the original. So maybe next week, Leanne Boschman will read Trees Against Evening Light on page 84. Leanne.
Hi, Kieran, and congratulations on this gorgeous book.
Thank you.
Trees Against Evening Light. It was years ago now, on a slow bus late in the day, weaving through villages south to Oxford. Heavy cloud above us, but a diffuse and widening strip of light where the sun was setting. Tightly woven hedgerows edging fields with random trees among them. Then I noticed, sharply etched against the background glow, a tree's lace-like, starkly perfect shape. then a widespread weeping willow gracefully cascading down the radiant strip of sky. Gaping at backlit trees, I was pleased that the unhurried bus groaned up and down the hills, halted by traffic here and there, waded and crawled around roadworks, paused to drop off women, impeded by shopping bags and school children scruffy in their uniforms and shuffling pensioners. Surely I had seen such trees 100 times, but now scarce breathing, gazing at the complex beauty of a hawthorn skeleton passing by, an old and sturdy trunk, heavy branches slimming towards their tips, stretching out in all directions toward the light. Oak and beech and ash exuberantly spread, a lushly wild-limbed chestnut, a writhing yew, an elm bushing gracefully in the direction prevailing winds have pointed. As the light dimmed, the backlit silhouettes merged into the darkening sky. Only my face now framed in the window glass.
Thank you, Leanne. If you liked any lines there, you may thank the members of my writing collective, the Adrift group, of which Leanne is a member, and Anne Pearson, who helped me a great deal in writing that. Next is Ken Klonsky with Inheritances on page 16. That's the tough end of the book. And Ken is the man with the golden voice.
Thank you so much for this honor, Kieran. We miss you at the collective, and I feel like we were honored to have the ability to at least workshop some of these. Inheritances. The regime was brutal, inept, and towards the end, reviled even by its own class allies. We were poor but educated, so connoisseurs of injustice. We had 2 maps of the city on the wall, today's with black and red lines, circles, arrows, tomorrow's pristine, waiting on today's events. Our wiliest and toughest fighters, expensively dressed in bourgeois clothes, mingled with our heroic group of pregnant women, whom police and soldiers were reluctant to attack. Each day, more of their forces deserted. Their leaders were bewildered by our tactics, for which they seemed unprepared. Slowed down, no doubt, by braided uniforms, gaudy medals, and years of too rich living. When our leader visited his capitulating palace, the coiffed and perfumed president had said to her, "You may choose to be facetious with my counsel, madam, but I assure you this will not end well for you." Well, she smiled. The coup had already finished the bastards off. Their generations of power and wealth meant nothing when up against the wall or tossed from helicopters into jungle, sea, or facing whatever form of death entertained exhausted rebels. The president madly still demanded our surrender while our captains debated where to hang him. How will we live after those frenzied days? Evasively, evading mostly memory and the remnants of dismembered families, putting treachery, lies, deceit out of mind. We will move into non-contemplative times among these groves of mango trees we've inherited from the recently dead, and evade recognition of how similar our lives have become to those we fought so fervently against.
Thank you, Ken.
Seems to have some bearing on what's going on in the world right now.
You might say that, right.
Sans mangoes.
Right. And next we have Susanna Egan learning about the Psalms on page 56.
Maybe slightly more cheerful. We called it XD for Christian doctrine, mostly about the ways Catholicism got it right, and all the others wrapped themselves in error. and dully expecting much the same when Father Adrian was to teach us about the Psalms. Thin, gray-haired, energetic, self-contained, he slid neatly behind the small table at the front and waited a moment till everyone was still. In his clear, quick, clipped voice, he began, "If you look at any religion in operation, you will find a morality. When you look at it reflecting on life and itself, you will find a theology. But, my dear boys, when you get to the very heart of a religion, you will find a song. The song at the heart of Christianity, of Judaism and Christianity, is the Psalms." It came with the force of revelation. This elderly, bright-eyed Englishman, connecting hymns and psalms with songs and carnivals, displaced years of dreary, tuneless droning with images of King David, ecstatic, singing, dancing, a naked wild man in the streets of Jerusalem. Not how we were encouraged to behave in the churches of my youth. The image of the dancing psalmist suddenly seemed like hope, though I hadn't realized how much I needed it.
Thank you, Susanna. Next, we have David Egan reading Fly Bottles, a good Wittgensteinian theme, and do buy David's book on Wittgenstein and Heidegger on page 39.
If you love Kieran's poems, you will even more love my book on Wittgenstein and Heidegger. So this one comes with an epigraph. A philosophical problem has the form, I don't know my way about, section 123, and hence the aim of philosophy is to show the fly the way out of the fly bottle, section 309, Ludwig Wittgenstein, Philosophical Investigations. Freud and Hitler, sitting back to back, taking coffee and cake in the Café Landmann after their strolls along Vienna's Ringstrasse. Those same chairs on other days would have borne the weight of, well, you know the crowd, Trotsky, Karl Popper, Alma Mahler, Klimt, a Wittgenstein or two, Hayek, Tito, Stalin, Robert Musil, and so on. A testimony of some kind to what throwing different groups of people together in freedom of some kind can produce. Behind the ring in Vienna's busy bars, invaded by summer flies, the sweating waiters fixed empty bottles upside down. The flies delight in glycerol, led the poor critters smelling beer to find the neck and dive up for the sweet and damp to eat and breed, but found only fumes and darkish emptiness. They'd spend an hour or more batting their heads against the bottle's sides until, exhausted, they fell dead. The waiters swept them up at the end of the day. We too have been seduced, betrayed by our defective language's sweet promise of the glycerol of truth. The buzzing voices of the city falter, and waiters come with brooms at closing time.
Thank you, David. And next we have Kate Kent will read Old Lightning on page 80.
Old Lightning, what I said was congratulations, Kieran, hi. Old Lightning, rain or shine, we saw him daily set out for his morning walk, taking the steps of the house next door with knee-high caution, steadying hand on the rail, like someone who has fallen once and plans not to do so again. His pace was precise, unhurried, so we called him Old Lightning. For 50 years, a beekeeper, somewhere on the fragrant prairies, maybe his work has led him to his patent gleaming cleanliness and given him that gentle face, yet authoritative, as if he were an ascetic monk, dressed for his walks in shirt and tie, his Sunday church-going clothes. Of wife, children, friends, we knew nothing. I saw him walking in the park one cold, dark day, yet he seemed cocooned in a celestial glow and the murmur of friendly bees.
Thank you, Kate. Anybody recognizing a relationship or a similarity between Kate and Susanna may not be mistaken. Next is Bill Ellis. Thank you, Bill. We'll read Full Moon on page 17.
Thank you, Kieran. I came late to choosing the poem I would read. And Kieran, with his typical stubbornness, kept insisting that I read a poem called Already Taken. I didn't find it in the book, but I found a poem I like as much as any, and that's a testimony to how uniformly good the poetry in the book is. So this poem is called Full Moon. Above the broken house, a too large moon rises over its dozen watchful windows. A dog plod foots up the hill on the road where the soldiers came. The one the old man takes to go fishing, precarious on his bike with rods and tackle. The click of a bicycle changing gear, so like soldiers releasing the safety catches of their guns. The moon above the broken house reveals one dog, one fisherman, caught in the crossfire.
Thank you, Bill.
Welcome.
And finally, we have Mick Hunter, who is related to Catherine Egan. And the poem is Author Addresses Muse on page 65.
Thank you, Kieran. This poem spoke to me as somebody both who's read a lot of Greek and who's a frustrated writer. So thank you for this opportunity. Come out, you cow. I know you're in there, whimpering in your stinking cave. I've tried flattery, which gets me nowhere. Tried winkling you out with a wet ear poke, metaphorically speaking. Shouted out some of your past winning lines. Grunt, muse, groan, shriek, stammer. Anything but whimper like that. There's no bloody market for it. I need a starter, a bit of kindling. I try shouting, sing, muse. There's nothing but silence, as though you'd left the building. Tried rosy-fingered or wine dark, but it's like kicking a motorbike that's out of fuel. Exasperated against all that's holy, I rush the cave entrance, force myself past the briars and boulders, scour its passages and chambers. Of course, you aren't there. Of course, no sign of habitation, ever. Of course, the whimpering is mine.
Thank you, Mick. And far from being a frustrated author, Mick is the author of a number of books, which I'm sure you will look out for now. So thank you very much indeed. So back to Carol with thanks to all our readers and our listeners.
So I think we're going to just take about a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and we have an open mic, a Q&A first. Thank you so much.
Catherine, I want to say thank you. I haven't got a keyboard on this iPad if I can see you all, but thank you. Lovely to see you.
Yes, it's nice to see everybody.
Yeah.
I'm playing with the chat.
Right. I can't chat on this because
there's Dan and Arlene down there too. Hello.
Hello, that's the meeting.
Hi.
Not playing.
Yeah, Dan and Arlene can wave. Good to see you. Good to see everybody.
Kieran, it's John and Alida. Lovely to be part of this today. And I want to thank you for this beautiful glimpse into the unseen world which you have given us. Thank you so much.
You're unmuted, Anne.
Oh, hello, Kate. I feel as though I know you because we've heard so much about Susanna's sisters.
Well, it's good to see you face to face, Anne. Having read your book and enjoyed it so much and having talked by email, it's nice to see you face to face.
Yes, it's lovely.
Great break after COVID to actually see the family. Hello, everyone.
Yes. This is the point at which we talk to the poet about his inspirations and his background and whatever has come up during the reading that you might want to ask him about. And I'm going to just ask a fairly basic question to get the discussion going. Kieran, I love the way that your poetry is both about imagery and place, and that you use imagery in place to provide a deeper meaning to what's being said on the paper. How did you come to be a poet, first of all, and choose the kind of poetry that you're writing?
A simple question. Let me think for a few thousand years.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Oh, no. You were going to say something?
Yes, I'd like to interject there. Kieran wanted to be a poet when I met him some 55 years ago.
Ah.
This young man wanted to be a poet, and I was falling rather head over heels in love. And I thought, what kind of a fool am I?
Which is also something her father said to her.
to want to hitch my life to that of a poet.
Oh my gosh.
But then Kieran went out and got a day job for 45 years. So I reckon he's allowed to come back to poetry on retirement.
Oh.
Thank you. I was going to say, there's no deeper meaning. There's just places and images. That's the deep meaning.
Yeah, I really do get that. And yet the poet, I think, has to see those images and the meaning in order to write the poetry so beautifully. Mm-hmm.
I think somebody said it. What drives them is being born in Ireland.
Ah.
Or somebody else said
okay.
recently in something I was reading that the only place they've seen an announcement of death on a doctor's notice that says cause of death, west of Ireland.
Well, I have a little bit of Irish blood in me, and so I really appreciate that. Thank you. Anybody else? Oh, Candace.
Yes, I'd like to ask Kieran, how did you come about to leave Ireland and end up in Canada?
Oh, well, it's a more complicated situation. That my mother used to say that I'm Irish on Hitler's side of the family because my father was building airplanes in Coventry during the war. So my mother was sent to Ireland, which is why I was born there. So I'm a kind of fraud Irishman in more ways than one.
Thank you, Kieran. Okay, I see Pam. Pam, unmute you. There you go. Thank you.
This isn't a question really, Kieran. It's a comment which I noticed in your last book of poetry as well, that there are regular themes of tyrannical powers and war, which is actually interlaced with all the wonderful images of trees and beautiful things. And I've often wondered why it was that you have these interjections of actually what is going on now in Ukraine and what has gone on so on.
Yeah.
Particularly the poem where you talk about the fact that we are just walking along the street and the noise above is not frightening and so on. I can't quote from it, I'm afraid. I was just very intrigued by the fact that these poems come quite often.
Yes, maybe our waking life and our sleeping life. I don't know. I was interested that this book has a lot of the warlike poems up front and the more nature-oriented ones at the back. And nearly everybody chose the latter. There's a lesson there for me. But I don't really know. I think those of us who were never required to fight anywhere in an army are somehow puzzled by this fact. It's not been the experience of most males forever.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Marvyne.
Okay, Kieran, we haven't met, but I've enjoyed your books very much. Your title, 7 Oaks Ago, I assumed that it referred to Manitoba, where I grew up. There's a district of Winnipeg called 7 Oaks, and a monument. It's in memory of the battle between the Hudson Bay Company and the Northwest Company, I believe in 1816.
Interesting.
So to get into the war themes of some of your poems, but I really like your interpretation of 7 Oaks Ago.
Thank you. Actually, I'm better known in 7 Oaks School District than I am with anything to do with poetry. because a lot of teachers have been using our educational work there.
Ah,
So I've
really?
been a number of times.
Just Seven Oaks near Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Yeah, gosh.
Yes.
If I could interject, when I heard 7 Oaks ago, it occurred to me that you were talking about a passage of time, because oak trees are really last quite a while unless something happens to them.
Right.
So it is like, I was saying, it's like, okay, over a course of 700 years or something like that, but it's just the length of time.
All right. Well, I think we can credit Alan Breezemaster for the recommendation of the title, if I recall, down here. Thank you, Alan, again.
And when I thought of 7 Oaks ago, I know I'm incorrect, but I like to be incorrect a lot of the time. I thought of it like, 70 years. And I thought, what was I doing 70 years ago? It made me think of my childhood. You know, I know it isn't 70 years, but I like to think of it that way. So thank you, Kieran. It brought back memories.
Thank you.
Kieran, my name's Angelo. I don't know if my name isn't coming up on the thing. It just says AL, and I apologize for being late. I'm on the East Coast of the United States, and the time change, between kind of messed me up. But I was one of your reviewers, and just wanted to say, it was really a pleasure to endorse your work, and to speak to your wife, Susanna. I as part of his day job, I'm a professor, and I've used some of his stuff. For my students and whatnot. So I kind of have a double connection here. So I just wanted to meet you and say hello and thank you.
Thank you. Nice to see you. And for the nice words as well, of course.
Anne?
Yes. Just going back in a way to what somebody said earlier. I've always been very struck with Kieran's poems, that some of them come out of a sort of, out of the same urge that any of us who've tried to write poetry have, the personal, the fleeting impression or experience that we want to capture somehow in this very intense form that poetry gives it. So there's that, but then Kieran has also these other voices that are completely unrelated to his own, like the voice in one of the last poems read of the former freedom fighter who's now in the governing class, the winner, one of the winners. And that seems to me very unusual, that combination of the dramatic, the other voice, the historic, or that's not related to Kieran's own experience at all. And I'm really curious as to how those come to you, Kieran. Why is it how is it you can write in a voice that's so radically different from your own in terms of the experience out of which it comes?
I don't know. I think it's, we all read books, which is another fairly vivid experience. And I wonder how much action Homer saw, not to make unhappy comparisons, but who knows where the particular thing that captures an idea comes from. It's all in the chemistry.
Well, maybe it's the novel, not the novelist's impulse to write about other worlds, except that you're doing it in the compression of poetry, which is what's unusual.
Mind you, my novel on tenure is very much a book of this world, maybe. Set at UCC, etc. Right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Although there too, you've created a character who in one way is yourself, the man who wants to write, the man who is thinking of moving from his career of crime into university teaching. But at the same time, you didn't, so far as I know, have a career of crime or drug running. So it's very interesting the way you can bring to life the complete others.
Thank you. It doesn't seem odd to me, of course, but who knows? I've been in a happy family for too long.
Yes.
Just to inject a quick little funny, I always love to say this. And anybody says, what was your first job? I said, oh, I delivered drugs. It was for a medical arts pharmacy.
Yeah, Gabriel.
So I did have my hand up and then I took it down because I thought that my question was indecent, but
we want it.
So first of all, thank you so much. These were really wonderful. I was writing down lines that I want to remember. But if I were only allowed to ask you one question, it would be about the cabin in the spring poem. I feel like the secret to life was kind of contained in the end, namely how to eat the flowers. So I guess I wondered. This is the indecency because you can't ask a poet what they really meant, but what is the eating of the flowers? How can you live off the eating of the flowers when you wanted the flowers to be something else?
How can you live with this disappointment?
But I understood that you were saying in a way that wasn't disappointed. This person who was able to eat the flowers was somehow finding something. I don't know. There seemed to be more than just disappointment. It seemed to be better than disappointment.
Yeah, I guess. I think you have a better poem to write on this.
Definitely not.
Actually, can I just interject there? I think eating the flowers is a terrible expression of despair. I've got everything ready for you. I'll have to eat the flowers. And they're not very nice.
Oh. But Kieran, is it a despairing ending or is it some kind of magical transmutational ending?
Yes.
Okay.
How do I know?
Thank you.
No. It's probably more trivial than you're assuming.
In one way, that's the beauty of poetry, though. We get to decipher it or interpret it the way that we need to interpret it. And so I think poetry leaves itself open to that kind of interpretation. The best poetry does, anyway.
And the worst.
And the worst, yeah. Okay, anybody else? I think
Ken has his hand up.
Oh, Ken.
Kieran, although I've known you now for a few years, I never asked about your influences, and I wondered if you were a fan of metaphysical poets.
Yes, somewhat. Not, oddly enough, the poets who have spoken, I find most engaging, just as I reach out. There's Philip Larkin, people like that. Metaphysicals somehow have not attracted me hugely. And I think maybe a lot has to do with the nature of the religious experience. And the one I had as a Franciscan novice was quite different, of course. Dramatically so.
But I think that's a good question because it suggests the kind of intellectual twisting of them.
I think that's it.
Okay, anybody else really burning to ask a question or make a comment? This is in some ways my favorite part of the program, is having these kinds of conversations.
Kieran, it's Angelo again, your endorser. I actually have a question, and so I'm a professor, like you were, and so you kind of straddle the line between, writing for your professional and writing poetry. So I was just, and so I experienced this too. So I was just curious to hear, like, how does what you do like in your day job, right? How does that filter in to what you write, and vice versa? How does your poetry, how did poetry, filter back into, your teaching and your professional works? What was sort of the balance or the interplay between them?
Yeah, that's an interesting theme for me to meditate on. I would think what I want to say at a trivial level is that both of them are just attempts to tell jokes, really, or at least excuses to tell jokes. But oddly enough, there's some truth in that. But the things I like most about my writing are the way the jokes have been fitted in. Sorry.
All right, I'm going to use that when I go from tenure. I'm going to tell them it's a way to tell jokes. So thank you.
Give me tenure. That's the true.
Okay. I'm sensing that we've probably gone through all of the questions that people were thinking about asking or were interested in asking. And I'm just going to flip over here to the second screen. Anybody else that has something that they'd like to say before we close down?
John Service.
Oh, John Service is there too. Welcome. And Bruce?
Yes, Bruce.
Okay, so I'm just going to take a list. And then, so I've got Marvyne, and I do see Richard. Yep. And
we've only just seen John Service, so maybe that's the only reason he came.
Okay, so let's start with Marvyne. Jenoff.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to read from my new book, Climbing the Rain, which is a Silver Bow book, and we're launching it on, I think, April 2nd. And in keeping with the theme of trees, and since many of you are on the West Coast, I'm in Toronto, I'm going to read Flying into Vancouver. Mountains are higher than hotels. Hotels are higher than trees. Mountains are older than trees. Trees are older than me. I am older than the hotel. Hotels are built to forget, but trees remember. Was my birth year good for you with a nice thick growth ring? The mountains sit there shedding snow. Down below, the water doodles, prattles, saying nothing. Trees enter my lone room. We thrive, we tangle.
Thank you, Marvyne. And Richard, where are you? Oh, there you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, just by coincidence, we were talking about eating of the flowers a few minutes ago, right?
Mm.
Well, I have a poem here that's got part of the same title, but my poem is called How to Eat Crow. So here we go. Here we go. One day, sooner than later, you will need to learn how to eat crow. Eating crow means making an error and then admitting your mistake. Eating crow is good for you. It improves your hearing. Suddenly, you start listening. You learn nothing when you speak. Eating crow also improves your reading. You research before shooting your mouth off. Eating crow improves your humility. It shows you what little you know. Last sentence. Finally, to reduce inflammation, make sure your diet includes crow. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. You never fail to impress me, Richard. Thank you very much. And now we have Julianne.
So this is called saying, in quotation marks, fast and slow. Mostly the latter now. I can't risk consequences for my health. When I dive overboard, self-indulgently, like yesterday, with my Eurotrash. Just a touch more. You don't have to be here. but stay. I'll never beg on the outside. Inside, another story. Is this the same? Yes and no. Be that way. No way. Way. I hear it in your voice. I see it in your smile. Then again, I trust you. I saw that, sigh and giggle. Might as well trust me. We do. Laugh and cry, you must dance. Chair and table, Buddha nature. Always already, a lot. For a long time, how could you not? If one doesn't try to prove, it's obvious. Ceteris paribus, part of why I trust in you. It doesn't make sense for this not to go. Both ways, one way. Two voices, one and two. Too far? The oneness of duality. Not two and not one. Both two and one. This is the most important teaching, Shunryu Suzuki says. In this posture, there is no need to talk about the right state of mind. You already have it. This is the conclusion of bisection. I pulled myself back from the ledge, somehow with your help. Vertigo, I get to the brink. I push you quite on purpose. We make it interesting. Would you really have it any other way? Do you really expect otherwise? It's just time to pay the price for not listening to advice and deciding in your youth on the policy of truth. Never again is what you swore the time before. Words are very unnecessary, but I like them. Yes, I do. You do too. Whose lines are whose? I can't say. Like stay together, a double meaning here. Punctuation? I'm not sure there's a substantive difference. If you're my counterpart, we speak in silence. I'm saying nothing, yet we're making such a collection. How? It might be legitimate to ask. If we felt, it could be answered. Really? You think so? Something to consider later. Of course, some vows can't be spoken. Cryptic, that's the point. See above. I'm taking a ride with my best friend, in several senses of the expression. Are you not entertained? Did you predict this? I could ask you the same thing, ? Never let me down. I won't. I'm having 2 big rock traditional ales. They were out of honey brown. Supposedly, otherwise who'd drink yours? It's a reasonable amount. This will be the result. Once appropriately edited by you, this is my love for you. You'll catch me as I fall. Author unknown? Maybe. Don't hurt me. See above? I could never. Lift up the receiver. I'll make you a believer. Boring, waiting. I can do it. We can do it. I can get into tune with anything with you. Invasion of the body snatchers. This is my gift to you. Always ascending next. 3rd traditional, I've been good. We deserve it. Trite. Quite. Hit. Save. Chance the gardener. Whisper we'll miss you. But go. Let go? Of what? No. Not yet. I've really done it now, haven't I? Best prepare myself. Please don't punish me. Don't be afraid. Don't change. Everything does interdependent origination. Man, it sucks out there, I desire. Bad, I know, to be in here. With you, etc. Us suffering. Lust of love. Sick. Thank you. Thank you for your time. That felt long, but.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for Kieran and Susanna and all of the readers. Thank you for your amazing poetry, Kieran. It made a wonderful day. And thank you for the audience. What a huge audience this is. You have a huge following, large family, and what a blessing. And thank you for the open micers too. So now I'm going to just close this off and say, have a good rest of your day, whatever that looks like at the end. For me, it's the rest of the afternoon, and some of you, it's probably maybe closer to evening anyway. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carol and Candace.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Bye now.
Bye.